Books,
You mean books?
books,
A book.
book.
Not a book, a book.
I guess we're talking about books today. Let's go.
Yep, and
Go.
it's one of my favorite things ever to talk about. Welcome back to another episode of the International Championship Workshop, where we spread love and joy and information to new agents, experienced agents, veteran agents, aspiring agents, all kinds of agents. And yeah, let's talk about books.
Awesome, brother, man. You always crack me up just with the accent, so always fun to do stuff like that. But yeah, I know this is one of your favorite topics too, because it provides such a great depth of education. And whether you are reading the direct book or maybe an audible style,
Mhm.
you get a ton of information, man. So what what do you love, Ian, about like just reading books, checking it out, and expanding your mind?
So I've always been a reader. Obviously not always, the kind of books that I want to touch on now, which is like the personal growth, things that help us achieve more and progress and advance forward and help us in multiple ways. But I've always liked reading in general. But when I first started um my own business, kind of like back in 2019, I found myself in a situation where I was like, okay, so there's no more bosses behind me to kick my ass into gear when I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. There's no more training that's given to me. I kind of have to look for it myself until, I started looking into brokerages and other things. Um, so I turned to I think everybody turns to YouTube University. That's what we call it, YouTube University. You just how to sell homes in YouTube. That's like the first step. And then obviously through that, I discovered titles of books and authors that we can kind of get into about entrepreneurship, sales, marketing, and all the rest of it. And then I just went all out and I think I bought five straight away. And I'd never read this kind of book before. And I remember, I can't remember specifically which ones were. I remember I got Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I believe everyone's read. I got Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I think I got what is it? How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Mhm. Yep.
And there was like a couple more and I can't remember. But those were my first, and they're like all-time kind of classics, they're big. Everybody kind of knows them or should know them anyway. Highly recommend them anyway. And I really, really, really got into it. And the thing for me was when I first started them, I would read them. I think in fact, I think it was in one of those that it told me to read it over quick and then read it again, but underlining or taking notes or something along those lines. So although it was something I never really wanted to do, I actually with a pencil underlined inside the book itself, important things that I thought rather than note taking, I'm just going to underscore it and read it again. So the first time I read that book, that was the How to Win Friends and Influence People, I think. I basically read it twice because I would finish a chapter, go back to the start, and then read it again more carefully, underlining things. And what happened was my at the time I was doing a lot of sales meetings for a marketing service that I used to offer, and my meetings went from being maybe like 20 minutes, 30 minutes to doubling. They were like coming up to an hour, and it was because I was able to get that person to talk way more about themselves. I was able to listen a lot better, and the sales kind of side of things just got a lot better. Got to the point where I had to learn how to cut back a little bit again because they were just blabbing on about their interests, their hobbies, and their family and whatever else. And I was like, okay, we kind of need to get to the point now. Like I want to sell you something. um, but the point is, I was reading them, and because of the way that I was reading them, and this is going to be different for everyone because everybody learns differently in a different method. Um, I was starting to see the results very quick. I was, I would do something in a meeting subconsciously in a sales meeting or a sales presentation or whatever, subconsciously. And then in my mind, in the back of my mind, it would ping saying, oh, that's cool because I learned that in that book that I read like last month or last week or whatever it was. And then over time, it just kind of accumulates and you just see yourself getting better and better all the time. I started reading digital books because I like the paper ones. I like to turn the page and the paper and underscore and everything else. And then I went on to digital, and then I like tried audio as well, just kind of going through everything. And I haven't stopped since. That was 2019 where I first started, and things have. I feel like I have grown personally, exponentially every year since then because of books. So yes, it's a very personal and subject for me. It's something that I identify with a lot, and it's something that will never ever stop. I don't think the learning process should have a limit. I don't think it does have a limit, but you have nothing to lose by reading all of these kind of books, you know? So why not try it if you're not doing it already?
Yeah, I totally agree, man. And I love um, just how you bring it in. And I know you continue to grow a lot from all the books that you take in. And the one thing that really stood out in what you just said for me was read it fast once and then go back through and read it a little bit slower, and whether it's taking notes or underlining that's huge because that's crucial, and I think that really works for me. I'm a big Audible guy. I love it because I could go walk the dog, put some earbuds in, and walk and listen. And if it's 15 minutes, it's 15 minutes. If it's 30, it's 30, whatever. Or even, while I'm getting ready in the morning, or just whenever I need something on in the background in my car. The Audible works extremely well. But that's where I love that because I'm a kind of guy that I need to watch a movie a second time to really catch stuff. I need to read something twice to really understand it better. Sometimes I should listen twice and listen to that information again so I could be a better listener. It's all that. I'm just kind of, hey, repeat that and it'll really click in my head. So I try to do that. And, it's always time versus everything else. But when you could take that, and especially when you have a good book that you're really enthralled in, and you're like, wow, this has a ton of great information, and you literally sit and listen and you're writing those notes, that's huge. And then I'll take it one step further, Ian. Take that information and go teach it. And whether it's
Yes.
a video like this or you're putting it on YouTube or something, when you're teaching it and it's coming out and you're coaching and you're verbalizing what's happened in that book and what it's meant to you, you're going to retain, I think it's like 90% more of what just happened in that book because now it's coming back to fruition and you're sharing it with others and giving them the motivation to check this book out and be inspired as well. So it's a really huge win to coach and teach after you're speaking or excuse me, reading.
100%. And one of the key things as well is when you repeat, let's just take I don't know, building an empire, one of my favorites when it comes to building out a team and an organization. Every time that I read it, I feel like I'm at a different point in my journey. So it has like a different meaning. And then it's the same with all the other classics. If you read a book, for example, on getting better with your finances and managing money, that's going to be totally different if you're literally just starting out and you have no savings and you don't know what to do. Whereas, 6 years from that point, you read it again, it's gonna be totally different. And another crucial thing is, which is kind of what you just spoke about, is reading them as a like a school textbook, not like you would read The Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones or something like that. It's where you kind of read it and you get enthralled in the story and whatever. That's cool because I do that all the time as well. But looking at one of these books and then reading it as a tech, like I'm studying something, and then I have the opportunity to. This is what I do quite often, actually. I'll read a couple of chapters through the week, or maybe even the full book through the week, and then when it comes to my team meeting on Monday, a lot of the times I'll teach what I read about whether it's just one chapter, whether it's like half a book or whatever it is, I'll teach a lot of it because I know that one, obviously they benefit from whatever I'm learning at the time, and two, it benefits me because, as you said, I retain like I don't know if it's 90% more of the information or what it is, but yeah, it certainly helps when you try to if you learn it in a way where you can teach it to others, um, it works. It works way better. And then also, it's super important that we don't just read and do nothing with the information. Obviously, we need to implement and take action with what we're reading about. And that's also the probably the number one way of retaining the information is actually putting it into practice and seeing it work.
I totally agree. Yeah, you're every time we learn, there's got to be a kind of a cap to it, and whether it's in person or books, yeah, go out there and apply that knowledge that you just absorbed and what you really excited you, reading that book or listening to it. Man, that got me going. All right, how does it work for your business then? So yeah, I always do a lot of lists on my Audible account, and
Mhm.
I've got it just to see, hey, because things are going to change throughout the year. It may change monthly, it may change quarterly, seasonally, what have you. Your mind may shift. So where are you? And I love like what you said with building an empire. You come back and it's different every time you go because you're in a different place of life. And those are the best books when they really change with you, and you
Oh
get
yeah.
more meaning out of them. You're like, holy cow, how did I miss this the first time? Those are always phenomenal. Um, I was reading one. I actually have it right here. Untrapped, and this is awesome. It's a freedom. What does he call it? Manifesto. Freedom manifesto. Um, so Brian Carruthers, same gentleman who
Okay.
wrote Building an Empire. I had the privilege of meeting him this year at EXPCon, our convention, and he was talking about this book. And it's really about becoming an entrepreneur and being able to have more freedom with your time, freedom with your finances, freedom with your family, and how to get there. And I really just love how he keeps it very basic. He tells some stories in there, so it's very relatable, but he also keeps it basic to keep your attention, keep you enthralled, and then also motivate you to say, man, I could do this and I should do this.
Yeah.
And as an entrepreneur, you want to be able to say, hey, am I going up in numbers? And yet, am I saving money for the future? And I wish I referenced this number. Um, but he says in the book too about saving money. And he's talking about, if you're 25 years old or 30 and you're putting X amount of dollars away, you know, uh, by such an age, you'll have $1 million. And it's that stuff. It's like, man, at 25, I couldn't save a penny,
Right.
but it's that stuff now that's important to me. So that way I can also help coach my kids and and the people around me to say, hey guys, what if we just put dollar in a month, especially for the kids, put a
Right.
dollar in and what does that grow to? And just boom, 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 boom. So it's stuff where you learn a lot through these books and you change the way, not only for yourself, but for your family and maybe your friends too. But yeah, this book itself, one of my personal favorites. It's on Audible as well. Easy read, easy listen. Highly recommended, man. Ian, what about you? What are you reading right now, or what do you recommend for somebody that's listening?
I'm apart from the second book after Game of Thrones, I am now going through for the third time actually Psycho Cybernetics. I always talk about this one. I do. I always talk about this one. In fact, I just gifted this to one of my team members also,
Awesome.
um, just to say thank you. But this one is one that I definitely come back to, and it's different every time I read it. It's all about changing your self-image and your self-belief, um, to have your subconscious mind work towards your goals. and do it in a way that's a little bit easier for you. And it just changes everything. It helps you see yourself as another person, which will achieve a lot more than who you are now, per se. So I highly recommend that one. But there's a whole bunch that specifically stand out with me because they're the ones that, as I mentioned before, I'll be doing something or talking or in a sales presentation or teaching or whatever it is, and then it'll ping in the back of my mind like, oh, I remember where I learned that. And I know that this was from this book and that was from the other one. Um, for example, The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. Really recommend this one. It's a little one. Um, about 6 habits that will transform your life before 8 a.m. That's really cool. Oh, look, it's all underlined as well. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. One of my underlined books. Think and Grow Rich again, one that I repeat usually every year, sometimes twice a year. The 4 hour work week for me was also a super, super handy one because, like what you just mentioned, this one kind of teaches you how to delegate tasks that you might be wasting time on that you shouldn't be wasting time on as a business owner. Helps you allocate your money wisely so that you're focusing on, let's just say, for example, the 20%, which provides you with 80% of your income kind of thing. So I really recommend that one. That was one of the first ones that I ever read. Um, and then a whole bunch of sales books, different sales books I read, like The Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort. One of my favorite. I'm sorry, I got them all here. So I'm just kind of looking at them all and seeing which one to pick next. But this one I highly recommend, and it's Made in America by Sam Walton. The founder of Walmart. That's such a good. But that was I read that one like 4 times the first year that I had it. It's actually fallen to pieces now as well. Um, but yeah, that's a really inspiring story, and you can learn a lot from that about being super wealthy and being extremely humble at the same time. That's what I really like about that one. But no, I would recommend that if it's not something that you do regularly or you feel like it's something that you should be doing a lot more often, maybe you do have a couple and they're just sitting there collecting dust. Um, I would find time in your day to start reading, whether that is, in a physical form or digital or audio or whatever. Like you do, walk the dog and listen to the audio form. Um, how I first started was I would swap my phone out with a book. So whenever I found myself on social media, just mindlessly scrolling, I was like, oh shit, what am I doing? I'm just gonna change this for this kind of thing. And even if it was literally, this is how it first started with me. Even if it was like just 3 minutes reading, I got 2 pages done. I'd say, okay, that's enough time to get back to work, kind of thing. And then I don't know, I'd go to the bathroom, take a book, leave the phone, take a book with me. I'm going to the gym. I'm gonna read the digital format or listen to a book whilst I'm on the treadmill or whatever. And then slowly kind of build up that habit, whereas I read every day now, um, various times throughout the day. It's a non-stop cycle for me, the learning process. And it really has changed everything for me. And I really like what you said about it being kind of like it being generational. All of this stuff that I'm learning is going to wear off on my kids and my wife and everyone else with the hope that, the same thing happens down the line. So yeah, that's what I'm going to leave them when I'm gone, my library.
Nice. That's great,
Yeah.
man. And it's good that you surround yourself with all those books, so that way you can just get
Oh yeah.
inspiration off the titles, just while you're working too. So, and it's going back, and just like a lot that we've talked about in our other ICWs, is get to know yourself. What works for you? Is it sitting down and reading, or is it listening? What's the best way for you to learn? It took me years to figure out that Audible was awesome for me. And I just enjoyed it. I could listen a lot better than retaining information as I read. So that worked. And so as that has gone, it's just propelled me. So that's been a great piece. So that's my advice, just to tie into what Ian just gave everybody. Know yourself. What works? go with it and make it happen. So really cool. And Ian, we just got a few minutes left, and I know you dropped probably like 20 books that everybody should read. So make sure you go back, watch this again, get all those
Sorry.
that Ian mentioned because they are all awesome. Um, I told you about Untrapped. I also love the Who Not How book. That is one of my favorites. Just surrounding yourself with the right people is what it's all about. And Ian, you read this one too, Expert Secrets.
Yes.
Love that one. That one was just like a playbook to drive your business, no matter what kind of business you have. We're in real estate, but to implement that into the real estate, dynamite. I've listened to it 2 or 3 times, and I can never get enough information out of it. It just keeps pouring in and pouring into me. It's amazing. So I'll leave you guys with those three um, to check out and do what works. If you ever need more questions about books, reach out to either one of us. Ian, I know he has a huge passion for reading. That's one of the main reasons I love him. He just keeps on educating and then implementing that into himself. Ian, before we go, what's on your agenda? Like as far as the maybe the upcoming 12 months, how many books do you plan to read in that time?
2025, I want to read 30. So
Nice.
I average between like 15 and 20 um a year. I don't really count anymore. I did when I first started because I always wanted to get the 52 books in a year. So I wanted to read one a week. But no, when you find yourself kind of like starting to sleep whilst reading, I was like, I can't do this. And I gotta refresh and just carry on the next day, and then it goes on and on and on, and I never get 52. But yeah, 30 is my goal for next year.
Wow.
Whether that's a mix of, new books, and then again, I will read Think and Grow Rich. That's also included in there.
Sure.
I was going to say I'll read Lord of the Rings again, which I also do every year, but I don't know whether to include that in the 30. But
Yeah, it's
uh
a book, man. It's a book, and
it's,
those are
it's
great. Those are great to just, hey, you got to break up the monotony. It's not all just work,
that's
you're
exactly
enjoying, that's play, that's fantasy, that's, activity,
exactly.
creativeness. So definitely that's going to spark your brain in a different perspective. So by all
Yeah.
means, yeah, include that too.
No, 100%. And that's actually why I split up my reading sessions per se. Nighttime is always like my other kind of books, whether it's Lord of the Rings. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, so that's my go-to at the moment. But 100% because it got boring for me reading all of this informational personal growth and marketing and sales stuff. It got boring. I was kind of, I wouldn't say overwhelmed, but I was struggling to retain a lot of it, and I was getting mixed up with a bunch of it. So 100% lose yourself in one of your favorites, whether it's Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings or I love romance or whatever it is. 100%.
Awesome. Very good advice, my man. Well, hey, brother, let's get out of here. Let's go check out a book and enjoy that, man. And for everybody watching, thanks for being here yet again. Join us on our next video, and don't forget to like and subscribe as you're watching us on YouTube. And if you guys got questions, reach out to Ian, reach out to myself. That's what we're here for. We love to help. We want to help motivate you to become the best you can be.